Walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life. Colonel of State Police said that he had a helicopter of his flying above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something, I can't remember exactly what he said, and he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? You know, didn't want to follow it because he didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard?
Hours earlier, I was invited to join the Ocean County Sheriff Department. They launched their own drones to see if they could intercept the mysterious aircraft New Jersey residents have been reporting in recent weeks. The department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones. Why do you think that is?
We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
You can see they're very large. They're not the size of a commercial airliner, but they're the size of a vehicle.
New Jersey, what is going on? Wow. And then there was one light left remaining in the sky. And here's video number 6. Check this out. What in the world? Drone, UFO, large, mysterious black craft flying through the sky. What in the world?
You understand now?
UFO,
you understand
large,
what's going on with this?
Black craft flying through the sky. That almost looks like a stealth
Their
plane.
weapons are ineffective against something that they already know is here.
That almost looks like a stealth plane.
Because if they get lower, they would get substantially bigger. And I can see that. I could tell. It's not a hobbyist.
Also, there were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer.
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat, and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey. We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Well, joining us right now, a guy who might have more answers for us.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States.
There's another one.
This could be it.
highly anticipated hearing on Capitol Hill about unidentified flying objects, or UFOs.
An unusual House oversight hearing on what's being called unidentified aerial phenomena.
Both Republicans and Democrats investigating the supernatural.
Congress, which for years has avoided this topic of unidentified phenomena, will give it a big and bipartisan platform.
So this was different. This was different than anything that had ever come before. We had hearings on UFOs, but this was the first time in history you have people that are direct eyewitnesses, or in one case, an actual whistleblower coming forward in front of Congress. This was an official, on-the-record testimony under oath. You have Lieutenant Ryan Graves.
I'm a former F-18 pilot with a decade of service in the U.S. Navy, including 2 deployments in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve.
Lieutenant Ryan Graves is representing a whole bunch of pilots. Flight safety, this whole idea of near misses, things coming into our restricted airspace that are unknown to us. Then you have Commander David Fravor.
I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world-famous Black Aces.
Commander David Fravor not only saw a UFO, he engaged a UFO for the United States military. So you've got these 3 people, last one being David Grush.
My name is David Charles Grush. I was an intelligence officer for 14 years. I was my agency's co-lead in unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP task force. I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you. I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people.
George Knapp and I fought hard with a lot of others behind the scenes to make sure that this hearing could happen. I'd like people to understand the gravity of this. It has been since the inception of the UFO problem. Nothing to see here, move on, all of that has changed. All right, let's do this. My name is Jeremy Corbell. I'm an investigative journalist and a filmmaker, and this has been an obsession of mine, is trying to get to the ground truth of what UFOs represent to humanity.
The 2 Musketeers, the front lines of UFO disclosure.
It is scary if that's true, Joe.
I think you guys are.
Jeremy's an interesting guy. He's actually been doing this for a long time. If you go back and look at, the content that's been being put out over the past, 15 or so years, Jeremy has been pursuing this topic doggedly for a long time and has been someone who has really kept the fires burning even when there wasn't a ton of media attention out there. And it's been really cool to see him team up with George Knapp, who's really kind of an OG of the UFO investigation world, and to see the work that they've been able to do together and to see them finally be able to take this across the finish line was a pretty cool moment.
How's it going?
Great.
All right, good. Who are you from?
From Politico. What do you expect us to come from out of the hearing?
Well, more transparency on this topic. It's long overdue.
Morning.
Morning.
Pleasure.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate it.
One of the witnesses? Right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much.
Three men who previously served in the military are set to speak publicly about what they saw in the sky and heard behind closed doors.
There's 2 big questions in this world. What happens when we die and are we alone? And the Pentagon's talking about one of them right now, so it's interesting as hell.
The great deal of interest here, the watch parties, the people who will be lining up early to try to go in person.
I think these 3 brave witnesses here, they took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and dadgummit, they're doing it.
What I personally witnessed myself was very disturbing.
The U.S. is in possession of, quote, non-human spacecraft.
UAPs
whatever they may be, may pose a serious threat to our military or civilian aircraft.
The incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
Is there any indication that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities?
Yes.
It's getting close. What was flashed? Mark bearing and range.
Were they human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered?
I have to be careful asking that question.
The gravity for what's going on with UFOs right now couldn't be more important. There's no going back from this, man. This is the moment that we define, are we going to have this conversation or are we not? This is the first time you have people that are there that have the impetus to tell the American public the truth. So how did we get here? How did we get here today?
UFOs, the chariots of Israel, part 2. Okay, I'm gonna get right into the scripture. We got Isaiah chapter 66, verses 15 through 16, which says, "For behold, Yahuwah will come with fire, and with chariots, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahuwah plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahuwah shall be many." That's what Nahum chapter 2 verses 4 is talking about, when it says, "The chariots shall rage in the streets, they shall jostle one against another. In the broad ways they shall seem like torches or lights. They shall run like the lightnings." Then we got 2 Kings. I'm gonna turn there. 2 Kings chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at verse 15. It says, "And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them." But he didn't know what he was talking about. You got verse 17. It says, "And Elisha prayed and said, Yahuwah, I pray thee, open his eyes, that he may see." And what I thought about when I first read that is how there are certain things that we can't see that are there, but because of the way that the light reflects off of them, it's almost like camouflage. It's kind of like UV rays, certain lights you can shine and see things that you normally couldn't see without that light. One example is I think it's a 4th generation night vision goggles. If you get night vision goggles, you can look in the sky at night and you can see a lot of stuff. You can see a lot of these chariots A lot of those chariots that you look in the sky normally at night, you don't see. If you use night vision goggles, you'll be able to see them. And another example of this particular scripture where there were chariots of the Most High. These chariots of Israel was all around them the whole time. But Elisha had to pray to Yahuwah to open the young man's eyes so that he could see them. One movie that we had just watched today called Insidious. That's a pretty good movie to watch if you want to understand how certain lights can be used to see things that you normally would not be able to see. I had no idea that type of stuff was even in that movie when I first studied this, and I was talking about how there's certain things that you can't see that's there, but if you use certain lights you can see them, like red lights, certain ultraviolet lights, yellow lights, and blue lights. A lot of blue lights and black lights, you can use those to see things that you normally couldn't see. But anyway, in this rest of this verse, it says, "And Elisha prayed and said, Yahuwah, I pray thee open his eyes that he may see. And Yahuwah opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha." So the chariots of fire, that was the chariots of Israel. That was the chariots of the Most High that he saw. And when you go to 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 12 and chapter 13 verse 14, which I already covered in the first video, how that's talking about the chariots of Israel. That's what these so-called UFOs are. Yeah, I know it's like a little hype in the first video. I had a real hot debate with some people, some guys trying to say I was crazy because I believe that UFOs are real. But once you put the scriptures together, you're going to see that that's what the scriptures was talking about the whole time. This stuff been in the Bible for thousands of years. And I've never, ever heard preachers preach or teach this in the churches. Because we're going to need to understand what these chariots of Israel are going to be used for. What people who don't know no better call them UFOs. I was calling them UFOs. I mean, hey, that's just what they call them. But they're chariots of Israel. And in these scriptures that I'm reading here, I'm showing you what they're going to be used for. Isaiah chapter 66 verses 15 through 16 clearly says that he's going to use these chariots like a whirlwind. I mean, just like that movie. Okay, and we got Psalm 68 verse 17. I already went over that in the first video, how the chariots of the Most High are like 20,000 and even thousands of angels. So the angels are with the chariots. And if you go to Ezekiel, let me just go there. Ezekiel 19 and 9. I think I covered that already, but I'm gonna backtrack to Ezekiel 19 and 9 just briefly, because this is very important, very important. So Ezekiel 19, I think it's 19. Let's see. It might be 20 and 9. I got okay. That's Exodus. I'm sorry. Exodus 19. My mistake. All right. Exodus 19 and 9. It says, "And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever." And Moses told the words of the people unto Yahuwah. Now the reason why I brought that up, because in Psalm 68 and 17, when it talks about the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, it says Yahuwah is among them as in Sinai, in the holy place. So you got to go back to when Scripture talked about Mount Sinai, and how did he come down on Mount Sinai? Okay, so we're in Exodus right here. This is where he came down in a thick cloud, because he makes the clouds his chariot, right? Okay, and we got the thick cloud, which shows his chariot. And if you skip on down to Exodus chapter, Psalm 104 and 3 talks about how he makes the clouds his chariot. So we know that when he came down on Mount Sinai, it was in one of those chariots. It wasn't just clouds. It was a chariot, according to Psalm 104 and 3. Okay? All right. And if you go to Exodus chapter 24, you're going to see that you're going to kind of get a visual example as to exactly what some of this chariot looks like. At least that's what I think it looks like according to scripture. Okay, Exodus. I don't know why I want to keep saying Ezekiel. I'm going to Ezekiel, but I'm not going there yet. Exodus 24 and starting at verse 9. Then went up Moshe and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw the Elohim of Israel, and there was under his feet. They saw the Elohim, or the God of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. I want to make sure I read that right. Now, when it says under his feet, as it were a paved work of a sapphire stone, that's not talking about like stones on the ground. What he was standing on was diamond. It was like a huge floor made out of one diamond, a big giant diamond. Okay, and it was a paved work, so it looked like stone diamonds, sapphire, and the color of sapphire is that bluish color. And I got a picture of it looked at something like this color right there, so you can see that bluish sapphire color, and something like this. I don't know if you can see that. All right, right there. So yeah, it was a bluish color, really pretty blue color. That's what that paved work of the sapphire stone that his feet was standing on. That's what he was standing on. Okay. Ezekiel 10, and I'm going to start at verse 9. And when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubim, one wheeled by one cherub, and another wheeled by another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels were as the color of a beryl stone. There go that blue again. If you type in beryl stone, you can do a search on YouTube right now. You type in beryl stone, you're going to see, they're going to show you the stones, what color they are. Some of them are different colors, but most of them are blue. Kind of bluish, blue-greenish look. That same blue that you see in those movies like Skyline, Battlefield, Los Angeles. Just watch the movies. That's all you got to do is watch the movies. A lot of the big wig higher-ups know this stuff. Okay, and they're trying to warn y'all. All right, we got the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. You want to keep that in mind. Then we got verse 10. And as for their appearances, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. So they look round. Okay, that's what these look like. Chariots of the Most High, round. When they went upon their four sides and turned not as they went. So sometimes you'll see them pictures on YouTube and different places on the net where they'll make fake UFOs. They'll make these things that's spinning around and all that. Most High's chariots don't need to spin around like that. That's fake. You can tell the real from the fake if you just go with scripture. All right. Okay, they turned not as they went. They wasn't spinning around like a top. Okay, but to the place where the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. It said it twice in that 11th verse. They don't turn. They don't be spinning all around like how you see on the different little fake movies or whatever. All right. Verse 12. And their whole body and their backs and their hands and their wings and the wheels were full of eyes. Now what that means is they were full of lights, not eyes. They were full of lights. See here where it says full of eyes, it's talking about full of lights. Verse 16. We're still in Ezekiel chapter 10. I'm at verse 16. Please follow along. This is very important. You're gonna get this. Okay. And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them. And when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. And when they stood, these stood. And when they were lifted up, these lifted up themselves also. For the spirit of the living creature was in them. In other words, the cherubim controlled the wheels. These crafts. Okay, now I want you to skip on down to chapter 11. We're still in Ezekiel. And starting at verse 16. Therefore say, thus saith Yahuwah, Elohim, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. It's talking about us, those of us that were scattered. Everybody was not scattered. So this is only talking about people who were living in the Holy Land that was scattered. Alright? And it says, therefore say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, I will even gather you from the people. He's going to gather us from the people. Now notice that he's talking about this in the same chapters where he's showing Ezekiel the cherubims with the wheels, which is these chariots. So think about, he's going to gather us. How can he gather us? There are a lot of us. Okay, how is he going to gather us? So he says, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered. So there won't be no need for us to try to make no exodus and to leave America. So when people say, you got to leave America, they're wrong. Okay, the beady-eyed black guy Richard got it wrong. All right, and there's verses like this all over in scripture. All right, this is going to be my video about the immortal army. I'm going to get right into the scripture. Joel chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. I recommend y'all read all of that. I'm going to just kind of skip through it. Verse 2. It says a day of dark. Well, first of all, verse 1, this is happening in Zion, Yahsaral. Yahsaral. Alright. And verse 2, it says, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spreads upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There has not ever been a like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. It says, a fire devoureth before them, behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. But the fire that's devouring before them is the same fire that causes them to be turned into ashes, which is why over in Malachi, I think it's almost at the end of it, it says they're going to be ashes under the soles of your feet. Chapter 4, verse 3, and you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. So that is what the fire does, is burning up the wicked. And this flame is what's going before this army. And it's talking about locusts also, but what I'm trying to point out is that a lot of people think that this is only about locusts, like this is just going to be some locusts, cankerworm, palmer worm stuff, because they read Joel chapter 2 and they read down to verse 25. Verse 25 says, and I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, and the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. But what they don't tell you is that there's more than one army. There's two different armies in the scriptures. We know that Yahuwah used locusts at times to punish people, insects or whatnot. He'll use nature. He'll destroy the people with the earth. Or even during Noah's time, the flood, he destroyed the people with the earth. Okay? But there's also another army that a lot of people haven't talked about. So let me go to that army. That is in Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 10 through 14, which is also what Joel was talking about. Because in Joel chapter 2, verse 11, he says, and Yahuwah shall utter his voice before his army. So let's see what this army is. Let's see if this is some locusts or some bugs here. Now in Ezekiel chapter 37, starting at verse 10, it says, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. An army of what? Verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yasharael. That's who this army is. This army that I'm reading about in Ezekiel is not locust. Okay? Alright. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yahsaral. Behold, they say our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy, because this is a prophecy of something that is supposed to happen in the future. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Yahuwah, Alim, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Yasharael. We are going to be coming up out of our graves. So even if this don't happen in my lifetime, I'm still going to see it, because I'm going to come up out of my grave. And all of the rest of Yahsaral, all of these Hebrews, all of these Negroes is going to be coming up out of their graves. Verse 13. We're still in Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 13. And ye shall know that I am Yahuwah when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. Now these people that are coming up out of these graves is what verse 10 says, an exceeding great army. Now, last I checked, an army is used to fight with. It's not going to be no happy day. It's going to be a lot of killing, a lot of dying, a lot of fighting going on. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of zombie movies have become very popular lately. If you look in the horror section, zombie this, zombie that, zombie apocalypse, rise of the zombies, the zombie returns, zombie land, World War Z, that's a zombie movie. Night of the Living Dead, Resident Evil this, Resident Evil that. I think they had like 4 of those. What does Hollywood know that y'all don't know? Let's go on. Zechariah chapter 10, verses 3 through 6. We'll go there. We'll go to Zechariah chapter 6. Zechariah chapter 10. Let's see, verse 3. It says, Mine anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I punished the goats. For Yahuwah of hosts has visited his flock, the house of Yahudah, and hath made them as his goodly horse in the battle. Out of him came forth the corner, out of him the nail, out of him the battle bow, out of him every oppressor together. Verse 5. And they shall be as mighty men, which shall tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight, because Yahuwah is with them, and the riders on horses shall be confounded. Verse 6. And I will strengthen the house of Yahudah, and I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them again to place them For I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am Yahuwah, their power, and will hear them. Now, this is clearly talking about the tribe of Yahudah being given strength because they are going to have to fight. And that's because the tribe of Yahudah, they're Negroes, and they're going to have to take their land back. And the people that are occupying the land right now does not want the Negroes over there. So how are these Negroes going to take the land back? They're going to have some type of abilities, capabilities to be able to withstand being shot, stabbed, falling upon a sword. Okay. Yeah, so when you read Joel chapter 2 verses 1 through 11, and you read that verse where it says, they shall fall upon the sword and they shall not be wounded, that is also talking about this army of the undead who came out of the graves, tribe of Yahudah, and all of Yasharael going back to get their land. There's not going to be no weapon to be able to stop them, and this is why you're going to find that the verse, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, is going to start becoming more popular, because that is going to be a reality in the future according to this prophecy. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 14, it says, and Yahudah, which they call Judah, but it's actually Yahudah, also shall fight at Yahsaral or Jerusalem. So now we know where this is going to take place. Okay. It says, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. So we're going to be taking everything. We're going to be taking everything. And we will not be able to be killed. We fall up on the sword, we will not be wounded. We're going to be undead. I mean, we already died and we came back. How we going to die a second time? You see?
Pentagon's secret UFO program revealed. The military spending millions of dollars to look into UFO sightings, and videos from American fighter pilots all being made public.
The remarkable admission by the Pentagon came as a result of reporting by the New York Times, which published a story of the mysterious UFO program over the weekend.
In 2017, two colleagues and I published this front-page Sunday New York Times piece revealing for the first time that the Pentagon was not out of the UFO business, as it had long claimed, but was really very much involved in tracking UFOs. The article broke the news that there was a secret unit, which we called ATIP, funded with $22 million in secret funding to track and investigate encounters between Navy jets and unknown objects that had been flying around carrier groups on the West Coast and the East Coast, and in some cases were seen churning underwater.
How surprised were you about this Pentagon program, a surprise program with a $22 million budget?
$22 million. This is the revelation that the conspiracy theorists have been looking for all along, that the government knows there are actually UFOs. Well, it's always impossible to know what the conspiracy theorists are thinking.
The head of the program, a man named Luis Elizondo, who had long intelligence history and credentials, had just submitted his resignation to the Secretary of Defense because he was being thwarted by superiors in the Pentagon.
It was about the craziest thing that's happened to the UFO community, because what we had here is we had some Pulitzer Prize winning journalists dropping this article. And so suddenly UFOs were something that were being talked about seriously. And the world kind of changed after that.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 miles to the west.
Tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see.
But there were those people, especially on the web, who tried to downplay and undercut the article. But the government never succeeded, really, in undermining the reporting we did. It didn't fully endorse it. It claimed at some points that Lou Elizondo was not who he said he was. We had checked him out thoroughly. We had his performance records. We had his whole intelligence history. So we knew who our sources were, and we had vetted them thoroughly.
Lou is a real patriot. He's done some pretty powerful stuff when it comes to moving this dialogue forward, and sometimes at his own peril, at his own risk.
Do you believe that life from somewhere else came here?
There is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
It was very, very eye-opening in terms of what was going on basically under our noses. We all thought UAP had been debunked years ago as rubbish, as tripe. We thought it was just like a, 60s or 50s issue of flying saucers and little green men from Venus.
So it was kind of an exciting story on many levels, and it drew a tremendous reaction.
The Pentagon now confirms the existence of a secretive UFO program tasked with investigating reports of unidentified flying objects.
We're alerting this morning about a Pentagon program that spent millions of dollars to look into UFO sightings.
The Pentagon ended funding, but the New York Times reports the program remains in existence.
And mainstream media quickly picked up on the story because we were treating it seriously at the New York Times. It gathered somewhat more gravitas and seriousness.
The articles in the New York Times 2017 removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today. Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed.
That 2017 article really popped the bubble for a lot of people.
The videos that we ran on the New York Times website, the 3 videos of encounters between these Navy jets and these objects, it was sensational. The videos were among the most watched ever in the history of the New York Times.
Well, if there's a it's rotating.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real. The several videos they're talking about were recorded years ago by fighter pilots. Then in 2017, they were made public by the New York Times.
The Tic Tac, the gimbal, and the Go Fast UFO. Those 3 videos were kind of first exposure for people that we have these unidentifieds that are flying in restricted airspace.
I'd like to say that the Tic Tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years.
All of this was on a clear day off the coast of California. This is not wartime nerves. This is not like pilot error. This is not some sort of glitch in the radar system. You've got a craft of unknown origin that shouldn't be there. Now that is a big deal.
These objects coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
We talk about 80,000 feet. That's a real sensitive thing. Anything above 80,000 feet, we're talking like about satellite hardware. That is some of the most protected assets the United States military has.
If the aircraft was armed, do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
My God.
gimbal video. It is incredible to see the mechanical rotation of this machine, and you can hear the pilots and their awe as they're watching this.
Dude, this is fucking going on, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My God. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude.
The gimbal incident, the recording on the AT FLIR system shows a single object that rotates. You hear the pilots refer to a fleet of objects that is not visible on the FLIR system. It just goes to show how serious this is and why this is such an important issue for our pilots and for our nation.
Navy pilots are the most trained observers we have. Millions of dollars are spent training these people. So if they say they've seen something, that counts for something special. And that's why the Navy videos were so important, because they captured electronically things that until then were just anecdotal.
That's not LNS though, is it? It's not. It is LNS, dude. Well, if there's like that thing, it's rotating.
Here's the part that people don't know. There are 4 extra minutes to that gimbal footage. There's 4 extra minutes. The gimbal was not alone. There was a V formation of UFOs in front of it. Now, why has that not been released to the American and the global public? Why? We need to have this type of footage in the scientific community's hands. To cut footage off like that, that was a choice.
It's rotating.
It's like the trilogy, the Go Fast video. This is not a rare phenomenon. Pilots are passing, seeing, catching on radar, sometimes even locking on a daily basis with these unknowns that can outmaneuver our own craft.
The objects are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology and our capabilities as a country, and that applies for the military as well.
We've had 14 near misses with aircraft. You're talking 50, 60, maybe $100 million aircraft with some of the best trained men and women in the air. That's serious, and that's in our airspace.
What percentage of UAP sightings, in your belief, go unreported by our pilots?
I would estimate we're somewhere near 5% reporting, perhaps.
They basically admitted there was nothing they could do if the craft they encountered turned out to be hostile. There was no way they could defend themselves. Now think of that as you look up into the sky. The Americans being the greatest superpower the Earth has ever known. You don't have dominance of your own skies, and the US Air Force does not want to admit that.
So now the conversation is being had. People started pushing to get more information out. The stranglehold on the UFO issue has always been with the intelligence agency. I have sources in every single agency. I'm not trying to brag about that. What I'm trying to do is put the fear of God into it. That is fact. People are fed up. People are fed up with keeping the secret.
I actually want to ask about UFOs. Does the president believe in the existence of UFOs, and would he be interested in restoring funding for that program?
Somehow that question hasn't come up in our back and forth over the last couple days, but I will check into that and be happy to circle back.
One of the things you have as president is the access to all the information in the world, all the mysteries out there. And I was just struck in the last couple of weeks, we're reading more and more reports of Navy pilots seeing lots and lots of UFOs. Have you been briefed on that? What do you make of it?
I did have one very brief meeting on it, but people are saying they're seeing UFOs.
We have presidents making overt comments about the UFO phenomenon, how seriously they take it. There was a sea change. You've got everybody talking about it.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you. But what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there are There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
When I was president, we made every attempt to find out everything about Roswell. And we also sent people to Area 51 to make sure there were no aliens.
Another coffee drop moment for me was when Jimmy Kimmel showed some footage that I had obtained and released of military-filmed UAP to George W. Bush.
The first thing I would do if I was president is go right to the UFO files. I wonder if you've seen this video that has been verified by the Pentagon. Would you be surprised if we were visited by creatures from another planet?
Yeah.
You would be surprised.
Wouldn't you be?
Well, yeah.
Hell yeah.
They've been really hesitant to get specific about what exactly they've been briefed on. But, they have been clear that something strange is going on, and it does sort of indicate that maybe there's some sort of a messaging shift going on behind the scenes.
The truth is, we have found through our reporting that presidents are not routinely briefed. Viewers might think that, as soon as somebody becomes president, they're led into all the deepest secrets of the government, including UFOs. Well, that's not true. What we found in our latest reporting was that this information is the most deeply held secrets in the entire government, and that includes from top officials, including the President of the United States.
The U.S. government knows something unexplained is out there. The Pentagon has until late June to tell Congress in an unclassified report what it knows about unidentified flying objects.
One of the critical moments is when President Trump signed to make the Pentagon do a report about UFOs. And this was part of the intelligence authorization.
This program to bring you an urgent message from the Department of Civilian Defense. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. This is a civilian threat alert to all inhabitants of the continental United States and allied territories. NORAD, in conjunction with allied military satellite detection, has confirmed an approaching fleet of unidentified phenomena with biological entities of a malevolent and hostile nature. The United States military cannot guarantee the safety and security of its civilians. It is advised to remain out of sight of the entities as the potential for risk is likely fatal. A nationwide curfew has been put into effect immediately and will remain until further notice. Seek shelter.
Little corrupted persons out of government. And they decided that what we have to do, obviously, is if this thing's coming back, we've got to expand underground facilities that are going to hold enough people so that our families and our immediate, most important, wealthy people of the United States are going to have a place to hide.
Do I think it's weird? Yeah, I do believe in the men in black. What if all of them were here, so no one looked over here? On New Year's Day 2024, concerned citizens in Miami, Florida began posting videos showing an absolutely staggering police response to something going on in the area surrounding the Bayside Marketplace, a large mall complex located here. As you can see, between 60 and 100 police vehicles arrived to the marketplace, locking down the area completely. As the chaos continued, some footage was aired on the news claiming the intense police presence was on scene to deal with a brawl involving somewhere between several and up to 50 adolescents, and that some of them may have had sticks.
Elijah teaches the people to remember the law of Moses, to do that which is written in the law. Question number 3. What will happen in the day of the Lord? Isaiah chapter 13, verses 3 to 8, and verses 11 to 16. That's Isaiah chapter 13, verses 3 to 8. and verses 11 to 16. It reads, I give command, and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath, rejoicing at the same time and insulting. So the Most High is going to send giants.
Bill Murphy sending a letter to President Biden saying more resources are needed to fully understand what is behind this activity.
You have an invasion coming into the state of New Jersey. Hundreds or thousands of them all over everybody's houses. Only like this is
drones also seen in parts of New York City.
The Lord of Hosts has given command to a warlike nation to come from a land far off, from the utmost foundation of heaven.
John Kirby says
the Lord and His warriors are coming to destroy all
began to emerge that there was a massive power outage in the area, that flights out of the Miami International Airport had been grounded.
It's a rescue mission to deliver the Israelites from captivity.
Is knocking on my door. All realized mistakes as I can't ignore. Will I stand, face the storm, grumble in dismay? The clock is ticking and no escaping. Judgment, 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 judgment.
We almost at the end, so we gon' get it in. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Put in the work. Tunnel vision never in reverse. My Akis move at light speed. You can't stop what you don't see. I can do this in my sleep. Wake up and write down what I see. One time for the Father, cause he right on time.
Today we're going to deal with what society calls UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Are they written in the Bible? Are they not? Are they fact or read what Daniel says about the Most High? Go ahead.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 9.
Come on.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
So in this vision, the prophet Daniel beheld until the kingdoms of the world were thrown down, meaning destroyed. He saw in the vision, he saw the fall of America. He saw the fall of Russia, the fall of China, the fall of Japan, the fall of Europe, the fall of what you call today Israel. Go ahead, read it again.
And I beheld till the thrones were cast down. Meaning
the kingdoms were destroyed. Read.
And the Ancient of Days did sit.
And the Ancient of Days did sit. Who's the Ancient of Days? God, the Most High. Why does it call him the Ancient of Days? Because he has no beginning of days nor end of days. He's older than time. Go ahead.
Whose garment was white as snow.
And it said God had on a white garment. So if he had a garment, God has what? A body. You need a body to have a garment. Read that again.
Whose garment was white as snow.
Read.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool.
What kind of hair did he have? Did he have straight hair?
And the hair of his head like the pure wool.
So what is Daniel seeing in this vision regarding God, the Most High? That he's what you would call a so-called black man, having woolly hair. Okay, read.
His throne was like the fiery flame.
And he sees God's throne. He said, and there's fire all around the Most High's throne. Come on.
And his wheels as burning fire.
Wait. And his what?
And his wheels as burning fire.
What does it mean, and his wheels as burning fire? What are the attributes of a wheel? They spin. A wheel spins, right? Back in the 60s and the 70s, when you had a car, well, some of y'all kind of young, but what was a hip term for cars? They called them wheels. Yo, those are your wheels? Yeah, those are my wheels. It was their chariots, what they rode in. So read that again. And his what?
And his wheels as burning fire.
And his wheels as burning fire. Why? Because the Most High has chariots in the heavens. And it says like burning fire. Go ahead, was that it?
Verse 10. a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him.
So there was fire bursting from the throne of God.
And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself.
And if there was fire all around this chariot, enfolding upon itself. Come on.
And a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber.
And out of the midst of it as the color of amber. See, a lot of you think that there's no color when it comes to the Most High and the angels. That's a lie that you got from TV. The Bible says, what was the color?
Out of the midst thereof as the color of amber.
Come on.
Out of the midst of the fire.
So the color of amber. Amber is brown. Okay, read on.
Verse 5. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures.
So 4 living creatures was in the midst of this chariot.